Today, we're doing some real-world testing to see if we can improve the towing performance of a gas-burning pickup. And we're going to be setting a new ride height for Project Rolling Thunder. It's all today here on Trucks.
Hey guys, welcome to Trucks. Now, we've all got our trucks for different reasons. Some for work, some for play, and some just because of the plain old versatility of owning a pickup. Now, if you're in the market for a brand new truck that you're gonna tow with day in and day out, well, you'll probably pony up for a 1-ton diesel truck. But if you're only gonna tow on occasion and you prefer the ride and comfort of a half-ton truck, you'll probably go with something like this, 2010 F-150 with the 5.4-liter gas engine. And let's face it, most of the trucks out there are half-ton gas-powered vehicles. Now, you got your brand new truck and you got it home, you got it hooked to a trailer and you take it for a test spin. Well, you might quickly realize you could use a little bit more power underneath your right foot and a little bit more insight into what's going on underneath the hood.
Now, a great solution to those problems is to install an aftermarket programmer or tuner. That way you get to pump up your vehicle's performance, as well as you get much better monitoring and communication with what's going on internally in your vehicle. Now, Bully Dog has been an innovator and a pioneer in this field since they began and have been constantly upgrading and updating their product line for the better part of the last decade. Which brings us to what we're going to show you today and what Bully Dog is calling the ultimate performance gauge and tuner. The Triple Dog Gauge Tuner is obviously a performance tuner, but it's a monitor, gauge, and diagnostic device all in one unit. There are 3 different power levels with gains of up to 34 horsepower. It's got a full-color display with 4 different themes and multiple color choices. It's got a day-night driving mode, instant and average fuel economy monitoring, and all the features of the driving coach that we showed you a while back. If you're going to be using your gas truck to tow, and let's face it, most of us do at some point or another, well, the gauge tuner gives you the ability to monitor internal fluid temperatures like your oil temperature or transmission fluid temperature, as well as, if you got an F-150 like ours, EGTs. Now, an EGT probe is nothing new in the diesel market, but this is the first time ever that an EGT monitoring device is available for a gas-burning truck in the F-150. Now, this one device is good for up to 8 different vehicle manufacturers, including some imports, and I'll bet you can find one for a price point of just less than $400. So all of those things considered, this is a pretty versatile device and pretty accessible too. So let's get it on the truck, see what it does. The gauge tuner monitors engine data through the PCM via the onboard diagnostic port, or known as the OBD2 port, which is found on all 96 and newer vehicles. Now, all the cables you need are included, and the instructions walk you through the installation.
Now, the installation was easy enough, but now it's time to put it to the test. And if you're wondering why we've got a 2010 Camaro SS loaded on our trailer, well, we'll tell you more about that later. But like we talked about earlier, we want to do a real-world test with our half-ton pickup and a loaded trailer and see how it performs out on the highway in a passing situation, with and without the GT tuner.
Now, I'm going to be the control factor to this experiment, driving this 50-foot rig at a geriatric 45 miles an hour on the highway. And we all know how annoying that is to get behind. It doesn't get any more real world than that.
And I'll be the guy stuck in the lane behind him and needing to make a pass really quickly, with traffic building up in both lanes behind me. So we'll see if the power we've added with the GT tuner helps us make that pass a little bit quicker.
We wanted this test to be as real as possible, so rather than do another dyno pull or a closed course test, we threw it out on the highway. Settling in, cruise on, 45. Go.
On Kevin's go command, we started the clock, and I flat-footed the F-150 in stock condition. We stopped the clock when the rear of the trailer cleared the front bumper of our control vehicle. And to come up with our baseline, we're using a 3-run average.
And go.
By averaging the runs together, we can even out any inconsistencies due to a slight grade or head or tailwind. The stock 3-run average gave us a time of 9.84 seconds. With that out of the way, we can download the performance tune.
Now, the tuner makes power, no question about that. But this is a pretty sophisticated device with lots of cool features. But one of the most important ones and the most practical features are the vehicle safety alerts, which are especially important while towing. Because if you're pulling a long hill with a loaded down rig like ours, an audible and visual alert could very well keep you from burning up an electronically controlled automatic transmission. And the cost of that, well, it can hurt. Downloading the tune only took 10 or 15 minutes, and we were ready for the start of the next test.
Start it. Back out on the highway, we repeated the test just like we did in the first round. The only difference being the tune.
There's 45, and
Go! On our first run with the tune, we picked up almost a full second over our initial stock run. With that done, we ran twice more. And go. And this time, we got a 3-run average of 9.08 seconds, which means we picked up over 3/4 of a second, which may not sound like a whole lot, but at the average interstate speed of 65 miles an hour, that works out to over 72 feet. Plenty more than the truck and trailer we were trying to pass. And that distance can mean the difference between a safe merge onto the interstate or a white knuckle experience while you try to get your truck and trailer up to speed, especially if you've got somebody getting bigger in your rearview mirror and closing at a high rate of speed.
Up next, we'll show you why we're hauling around that brand new Camaro. And later, we're lowering the center of gravity on Project Rolling Thunder. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, welcome back to Trucks, where we've made our way up to Music City Raceway, just north of Nashville, so we can do some more testing. But it's not for the truck. Now here's the reason we chose a brand new Camaro to load onto our trailer for our tow test. Because believe it or not, the same exact Bully Dog GT tuner we used to program our F-150 for better power and economy while towing can be used to put a performance race tune into this yellow SS. All we had to do was return the truck to the stock. We can install the GT tuner in this car.
now, if you've been wondering what's in the back of the enclosed trailer all day long, well, it's this brand new SRT8 Challenger. And just like we can take the tune out of the truck and we're going to put it in the Camaro, well, when we're done playing with the Camaro, we can pull the tune and the tuner out, upload a tune into the Challenger, play around with the new power that it's going to make, and then at the end of the day, put it back to stock, put it back in the truck, and head to the hills with the same device.
Now this great looking and brand new car is on loan to us from its owner, Frank Franz. And while it is largely stock, he has done an exhaust upgrade to free up some sound and free up a few horsepower. Music City's track was prepped and sticky, and launching the car was a balancing act between bogging the engine down and serious wheel hop. But once the engine was wound up, look out.
Well, that felt pretty strong. 85 miles an hour, 8.4 seconds, 0 to 60, 4.9. That's not too shabby for a stock car.
With the initial run down the 8-mile track out of the way, we ran the car 2 more times for repeatability and to get a 3-run average. And the car was pretty consistent, coming up with an average of 8.4 seconds, which is pretty standard for these cars. So we knew we had a solid baseline to compare our upgrades against. And yes, this is the same exact tuner that we used for the F-150. All we had to do was return the Ford to stock so we could upload the tune into the Camaro. And with the modified computer tune, the engine seemed to recover quicker from the off-the-line bog, providing us with quicker times. Our 0 to 60 time was down to 4.5 seconds, and our 8th mile improved to 8.2 seconds. But we didn't want to rely on just one run. And this time, our 3-run average netted us a time of 8.1 seconds, which is really respectable, especially considering that this tuner works in so many different vehicles. And with the official testing out of the way, we loaded up our football player-sized videographer into the passenger seat.
Ready?
Let's go.
3, 2.
That way, Rob could get some cool in-car shots of grabbing gears. But to say we were surprised with the results, a little bit of an understatement.
1.7 60-foot time. Your big ass in your helped the time. 8th mile of 7.9. That's hilarious. We ran a 13.1 in the quarter. What? That's hilarious. This already heavy car actually improved by 0.2 in the 60-foot time with more weight in here. 4.4 0 to 60. 7.9 in the 8th. Our mile an hour is the only thing that suffered due to the weight penalty. Thanks, ballast.
There you go. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop, where we're back on Project Rolling Thunder, making preparations to move on to stage 2 of this build. Now, it's going to be a pretty drastic transformation from both the stock Mazda V2500 version and stage 1 of this project. With this swapped-in engine clattering and making not-so-healthy noises, it was time to go. And Kevin and I have both been anxious to ditch the slush box automatic in favor of a manual transmission. Now, the engine we're going to be installing in place of the wounded Mercury Marauder 4.6 is going to be a little bit heavier due to the blower and intercooler and supporting hardware. So to counter that, we're going to be installing a fuel tank at the very back of the frame instead of the mid-frame mounted stock plastic tank. So we just sent some dimensions to the guys at Rick's Hot Rod Shop, and they crafted up this super slick stainless steel tank. Now we're going to drop it right in between the frame rails and behind the rear axle. And that'll help us with the weight bias. But before we do that, we got to figure out the rear suspension.
Now, we wanted to do a little bit better than just some lowering blocks or shackles and really enhance the handling capabilities of this project. And there's lots of aftermarket options out there. There's 4-links, there's Watts links, there's all kinds of torque arm systems that are really well engineered. But we wanted to go independent rear suspension. Now, since we're completely redesigning the front suspension and doing a custom one-off setup, we wanted to go with more of a subframe system for the rear. And we found a killer option. This is an IRS from a Cobra Mustang. Ford introduced these in the Cobras in '99, but this one is from an '04 with the beefed-up 31 spline half shafts, limited slip differential, and 373 gears. Now, there's good and bad points about this IRS system. The good point is that it's designed to handle the power output of a supercharged engine application, which is precisely what we're going to be throwing at it. Bad points? Well, there's a wheel hop issue. You Cobra guys know this. And it's due to the rubber isolators and the various design aspects of the IRS. Now, because of that, a lot of straight line guys ditched this entire system in exchange for a stick axle, which also makes this inexpensive and available. Not to mention, there's aftermarket support to compensate for the factory shortcomings. So the bottom line is this is an adjustable, strong, independent suspension system that is going to up the ante and really turn our little truck into a corner carver.
Now, another reason this stock fuel tank has got to go away is that it's going to try to occupy the same space as that IRS subframe assembly Kevin just showed you. And needless to say, the 7.5-inch rear axle has got to go as well. And I'm kind of surprised that this thing held together under V8 power during the test drive. But I guess the fact that the engine was a little bit wounded and these bike tires weren't exactly hooking up helped the axle live. Now, we're stripping the front suspension down just for the sake of getting it to a bare frame. That way we can set the frame at ride height and work the front and rear suspensions separately. Now, there aren't any off-the-shelf bolt-in kits whose primary focus is to get the truck to handle better. They're mainly designed to sit the truck lower down for looks and aesthetics. But I guess that's to be expected since nobody really takes a pickup truck to a road course. So we're going to be on our own for a completely custom front suspension that handles.
You're
You're watching Trucks. For a DVD copy of this episode, just go to PowerBlockTV.com and order your copy for just $5.95 plus shipping and handling. Start your own Trucks collection, delivered right to your door from the Power Block.
Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Well, we've got the frame of Project Rolling Thunder just about completely stripped down in preparation for some pretty serious suspension modifications. But before we cut off the first bracket or even make the first weld, we wanted to point something out. Check this out. With the front of the frame on jack stands on both sides, we've got a good 2 or 3 inches of flex underneath this left rear corner. So we're definitely going to have to address the torsional rigidity issue. And all that movement is without any weight in the chassis, which is only going to amplify the problem. Now, to remedy it, we've got a couple of things we're going to do. We're going to add some bracing, and we're going to weld some of these cross members that are currently just riveted in place, like this one that's holding the front and rear frame sections together by way of the leaf spring hanger, which is going to go away. So it'll get all welded together, and that'll help stiffen things up. But the biggest thing we can do to increase the overall chassis stiffness is to install a well-thought-out roll cage. Now, it's hard to tune a suspension or even calculate spring rates when the frame itself is acting like a spring. But before we break out any tools, we want to drop the body down on the frame, select our ride height.
Well, check out the new mocked-up stance of Rolling Thunder, and it is amazing how much difference lowering a vehicle and throwing a set of wheels and tires on can do for the appearance. But as good as this thing looks, appearance is not our main goal. We want to make this truck handle. Now, the wheels and tires are something that we borrowed from a horsepower project out in the warehouse, but they're similar in style and size to what we're eventually going to be putting on this truck. Check this out as well. See the negative camber we've dialed into the mock-up of the wheels and where they sit. It's going to give us the ability to really make this truck handle, having adjustability on all 4 corners. Not to mention the fact that some negative camber on the back end of a pickup truck, well, it's not something you see every day.
And take a closer look at the front wheel well. We've marked the fender and dropped a plumb line where the original front axle center line was. And we've shifted the wheel forward 1.5 inches because that's where the new front axle center line is going to be, lengthening the wheelbase. And that's going to have the same effect as moving the heavy engine and transmission rearward in the chassis, helping with that weight distribution we've been stressing so much. And only because it's going to make this truck handle the twisties. And with this giant wheel well, if we hadn't have told you, well, you probably wouldn't have noticed. Now, one of the things that's going to help us move some of the weight to the back of our pickup truck is by relocating the battery. Rusty's off-road battery box is laser cut from 1/8-inch stainless steel, meaning you never have to worry about corrosion issues, making it great even for marine applications. It's got 8 mounting holes on the bottom and only 2 bolts hold the lid in place, making it really convenient. And it'll hold any Optima battery out there. And for a show car look, all you got to do is polish the stainless. Now, if you got any questions about anything you've seen on today's show, check out the website. Guys, thanks for watching Trucks. See you next week.